Hi everyone, Nikolai here with you today to talk about our August Complaints Digest. Can you believe it? Time's flying, it's already August. So I'm here with you just like I am every month to talk about our monthly Complaints Digest. The report or the full report was published earlier this week on September 7th. If you'd like to kind of follow along or get all the details, you can click on the link that's below the video in the description in YouTube and follow along, or just take a look at it whenever you have a chance to kind of make your own, draw some of your own conclusions. I'll try to keep today a little bit short, and kind of focus on the nitty gritty and the most important stuff um, from our key metrics. We could see that last month in August, we did see another slowdown in the number of new complaints that we received. So we got 109 complaints in August as opposed to 137 in July. This kind of really goes along with our summer slowdown that we experience every year as people go on holiday. This year, obviously, coronavirus also has an impact for people. So we are seeing our general or regular slowdown. The other thing to mention is in the previous months, if you've seen my videos, I've talked quite extensively about the extreme market volatility and extreme trader activity that we witnessed in late summer and late spring and early summer of this year. And if we compare those months to the late summer months like July and August, we definitely see a drastic dip in a lot of metrics, again, because we experienced an extreme amount of new complaints and trader inquiries in those late spring and summer months as compared to now when we see a summer slowdown. So the amount of new complaints that we received last month, the amount of complaints that we were able to successfully resolve and process last month, those metrics did go down month over month, but we did see an interesting increase in things like the total amount of money that was sought from traders. That metric increased 63% and went all the way up to $766,000 in August. The amount of money that traders who trade with our broker members, those are companies that you'll find in our members section on financialcommission.org. Those specific traders requested $358,000 worth of monies in August, which is about a 40% increase from July. Same thing goes for traders who are trading with brokers who are not our members, who still come to us and ask questions and file disputes and ask us to resolve their complaints. The amount of money that they requested was $408,000 last month, which is actually a 90% increase from July when only $214,000 were requested from these traders. So overall, in terms of monies requested, we have seen quite a significant increase from July to August. That really kind of tells me that, in my mind, a lot of traders are probably exiting the markets as the summer months sort of go along, because there's less market opportunities out there. The global markets are not moving as quickly as they did in late spring due to the coronavirus pandemic and everything that has to do with it. And so now traders are probably getting out of their trading positions, trying to withdraw funds or move funds from one account to another. And for one reason or another, they're having issues with that, with their brokerage, hence the rise in the number of monies that are being requested, and also with respect to the types of complaints categories we look at. So some of you who follow along with us every month know that our complaints categories are split into three. So we have trading complaints, financial complaints, and non-trading complaints. Non-trading complaints could be things like terms and conditions issues, issues with inactivity fees, swaps, etc. Something that falls out of the traditional purview of trading, and then financial, which is withdrawing or depositing money. And if we take a look at those categories, we see that in August, financial complaints actually won out. So about 57% of all complaints were financial related, whereas 27% were related to trading. The non-trading complaints accounting for about 17% of all complaints. So we see financial as being the predominant topic in August as compared to some of our previous months, and rightfully so. If we take a look at things like average complaint values, we see that that number actually doubled from July to August. This metric was a little bit lower in June than it was in July. So we're seeing sort of a steady increase of average complaint value as we go through the summer months. So in August, this metric was $7,036, whereas in July it was only $3,300. So we see a very nice doubling of this figure. If we dive deeper into the complaints categories from a value perspective, from the amount of money that traders are requesting, in August, we still see that the majority of complaints, about 36% of them, were in the lowest categories, so from $1 to $100. But the next best sort of category is the $1,000 to $10,000 category, which accounted for about 22% of all complaints received in August. So pretty good, a pretty good chunk of complaints there in August was of a higher category. The rest of those categories are 100 to 500. About 18% of all complaints were in that category. And then next to that is the $10,000 and up category, which accounted for about 13% of all complaints in August. So in this sense, we see some pretty positive numbers or positive metrics as we go along in the summer months. A big question always is, well, how did you rule on complaints from the previous month? Was it, did you rule complaints in favor of the broker, the trader, or was there not a decision made in some complaints that were filed? So in this particular subset of metrics that we look at, we see that 36% or about 37% of all complaints last month were ruled in favor of the broker. About 22% were ruled in favor of the customer, and about 42% of all complaints actually did not have a ruling in favor of either party. So those are cases where essentially there might actually not be an actual full-fledged dispute between the parties. It might be a situation where the customer is having trouble or issues with something particular that they can't resolve with the brokerage, and they reach out to us for help, and we essentially help them to resolve that question. In other instances, our dispute resolution committee is able to come to sort of an amicable agreement between the parties so that they basically resolve the issue on their own without the dispute even having to go to a determination or really even maybe even to an investigation phase. Some complaints are resolved even before they reach some of these latter stages in the dispute resolution process, greatly easing sort of the burden on our dispute resolution committee with the parties being able to resolve the issue specifically on their own. In terms of the complaints that we ruled in favor of the customers, which was roughly 22%, if we take a look at monies, that accounted for about $27,249 that we actually awarded to traders and brokers, paid out to those customers. That metric actually increased a good 23% month over month from July, when we awarded a little bit over $22,000 for traders. Now, the most important metric that we look at month over month is average resolution time. So how long does it take us in days or weeks or months from receiving a complaint to actually resolving it? And those of you who, again, follow along with my videos or read our digest every month saw that in July, we actually achieved a historical record for our organization. We were able to process disputes in July at a rate of 5.14 days. So it took us that long on average to resolve all disputes in July. I'm happy to report that in August, this metric was actually even better or lower. We were able to resolve disputes in 4.6 days overall in August. I think that has something to do with the fact that we have a summer slowdown, so the amount of new complaints that we're receiving month over month has definitely dipped. So essentially kind of gives our dispute resolution committee a little bit more time to breathe and resolve and investigate complaints, which is why we've been able to move quicker, even quicker in August than we were in July. um, and achieve these, again, sort of historically low dispute resolution times. Now, 5.14 days and 4.6 days obviously is not a very drastic difference. I mean, we could all probably say that on average, 5 days is a good number. But at the same time, as I always compare, to other organizations that are tied um, to regulatory bodies around the world, like in the United States, in the UK, and Australia, where there are similar mechanisms to resolving disputes. I think if you were to look at those statistics at those regulatory bodies, you'll see that the dispute resolution process there takes a lot longer than 5 days, usually several weeks, and perhaps months. And so I think if comparing, apples to oranges, regulators to our self-regulatory organization, you can still see that we are very, very efficient in terms of resolving complaints for traders. Um, with respect to what we see in the markets, what we see happening with brokers, in previous months, you've heard me mention, and really today as well, the drastic market volatility that we experienced in the spring, late spring, and early summer months has really dissipated over the summer. If we take a look at some of the financial metrics that brokers are reporting or have been reporting recently, we see that brokers are experiencing slowdowns. Some with respect to client deposits that they're accepting every month. Others are seeing a dip in trading volumes or trader activity, and that really goes to show kind of that sort of reflects what the markets are doing globally. There's just not that much price movement anymore as compared to what we saw in late spring with coronavirus and other disruptions. And so it's really a question of where the markets are going to go next as we close out Q3 and approach Q4 and really close out 2020. I think if we don't see any specific drastic volatility in the markets, which could still happen. We have an election coming up in the United States. Coronavirus could still have a significant impact economically on the markets as we move along towards the end of the year. And if we don't see that volatility return in the markets, I think it's going to be very hard for us to see trader activity continue to be elevated with respect to new traders entering the market, existing traders continuing to trade. And if that's the case, then we would expect to see an increase in the amount of complaints that our organization receives in the months as we go along into the fall and winter. But it may not be as drastic of a jump as we saw in the late spring months and summer months, where we were inundated with new trader complaints previously. So I think we have to be careful in what we in what we expect from the markets and from traders going forward. We're definitely going to monitor the situation, and I expect us to continue to be able to resolve complaints in a fairly quick and reasonable manner. And I would expect some of our metrics with respect to new complaints filed and complaints categories, as well as monies that are sought from traders, to gradually continue to improve or increase as we continue on through 2020 and sort of close out the year. So I want to thank you again for joining me today. Below the video, as always, you'll find a link to the report that was published earlier this week with some of the other details of our key metrics. And if you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out to the email address that you also see in the description below the YouTube video to ask us any questions that you may have, or questions about your broker or the markets or anything like that. We are always ready to help you. And I hope to see you again next month for our next monthly digest, which will be for September metrics. So have a great day, and I hope to see everyone soon. Thank you.